Imagine being trapped inside a dark metal box, deep beneath the crushing weight of the ocean, for more than 52 long years. Not as a pile of bones, not as some forgotten relic, but as a perfectly preserved body, almost wax-like. Every line of your face, every silent expression, frozen in time as if the world above had simply stopped existing. And the most terrifying part? Your hand is still gripping something, the very evidence that could destroy the life of the most powerful man in the city, a secret buried and protected for decades. This isn't just a sunken corpse. This is a cry for justice, a voice that has waited half a century to be heard, a truth that was hidden beneath the waves, and now it's finally resurfacing. The city has been living a lie for over 50 years, and what's inside this box is about to change everything. At Seattle's Pier 42, where the fog blends with the smell of salt and rust, expansion work was in full swing. The dredging crane struck something stubborn in the deep silt. When the crane rose, it wasn't carrying ship wreckage, but a 1972 Cadillac Eldorado black as a nightmare, dripping with mud and barnacles. The lead investigator arrived on the scene. Known for a cold demeanor and an ability to read a crime scene like an open book, the investigator ordered everyone back. "Open the trunk," came the command in a sharp tone. Using hydraulic cutters, the steel groaned and buckled, opening a portal through time. Inside the trunk lay a man. His body hadn't decomposed. Instead, it had turned into what forensic scientists call adipocere, or grave wax. His skin looked like pale marble. He was dressed in a high-end tuxedo, and in his right hand, which looked as if it were carved from wax, he gripped a vintage brass key engraved with the number 10 and the logo of the Silent Nest Inn. In the morgue, the investigator stood over the body. "He still smells like Christmas 1974, the medical examiner remarked, stunned. The doctor explained that the body was preserved due to the lack of oxygen, extreme cold, and water pressure, which converted the body's fat into a hard, soapy substance. The investigator didn't care about the chemistry as much as the message. The man had disappeared on Christmas Eve, 1974, along with $2 million. He had been branded a thief on the run, and his family's reputation was destroyed. But the investigator noticed something bitter. The man was wearing a wedding band on his left hand, and there was a small blue spot behind his ear. "These aren't drowning marks," the investigator whispered. "That's a .22 caliber bullet hole. He didn't run with the money. He was executed in cold blood before his car was pushed into the abyss." The investigation didn't move by luck, but through the cold analysis of a paper trail that had been cold for 52 years. The investigator held the brass key in a plastic evidence bag, staring at the engraved bird logo and the number 10. First, the investigator cross-referenced the logo with the Seattle Business Registry of the 1970s. Most of the records were digitized, but the Silent Nest Inn had been a cash-only establishment that vanished from the books in 1978. The breakthrough came in the dusty basement of the city archives, inside a box of abandoned property leases. There, a handwritten ledger from December 1974 revealed a reservation for room number 10. The name on the check-in card was a fake, but the license plate number, scribbled in the margin by the night clerk, matched the 1972 Cadillac Eldorado found at the bottom of the pier. But the most chilling discovery was the cleaning log from the morning after Christmas. The room had been reported as vacant but requiring heavy scrubbing, and the bill for the extra cleaning was paid by a corporate credit card belonging to a shipping company, the same company where the victim had worked as a manager. The investigator tracked the coordinates of the old lease to a derelict plot of land in the industrial district, where the skeleton of the Silent Nest Inn still stood. waiting for its last guest's key to return. The investigation led to the outskirts of the city, to a decaying structure known as the Silent Nest Inn. It was a place where the wallpaper was peeling like dead skin, and the air tasted of stagnant time. The investigator stood before room number 10, the heavy brass key, recovered from the dead man's grip, fitting perfectly into the rusted lock. With a groan of protesting metal, the door opened, revealing a tomb of memories. Inside, time had ceased to flow on Christmas Eve, 1974. Faded tinsel hung like spiderwebs from the ceiling, and a small artificial tree stood in the corner, its lights long dead. On the mahogany table sat a bottle of wine, 2 half-filled glasses, and a gift wrapped in red paper, never opened. The investigator didn't move. Instead, a high-intensity UV light was switched on, slicing through the darkness. The blue light revealed the invisible, a violent spray of fluorescent splatters across the floral wallpaper, a classic high-velocity bloodstain pattern. It told a story of a seated man, caught by surprise, and a shooter standing less than 3 feet away, beneath a loose floorboard. A final piece of the puzzle glinted, a gold lighter engraved with initials that didn't belong to the victim. It wasn't a robbery gone wrong. It was a cold-blooded execution, staged to look like a disappearance. The gold lighter found beneath the floorboards of room number 10 wasn't a common trinket. It was a heavy, custom-made 18-karat gold piece. When the investigator cleaned away the 52 years of grime, a unique engraving appeared on the base, a serial number from a high-end Swiss jeweler, and a small, distinct crest, a falcon with a diamond eye. The investigator traced the serial number to a boutique in Geneva. The digital records of the modern age met the handwritten ledgers of the 1970s. The jeweler's archive revealed that only 3 such lighters were commissioned in 1974. 2 belonged to European royalty. The third had been a custom order for a young executive of the year in Seattle. The name on the invoice matched the co-founder of the very shipping company where the victim had been branded a thief. This was the man who had climbed the corporate ladder over the dead body of his partner. He hadn't just stolen the $2 million. He had used that blood money to seed the conglomerate that now dominated the city's skyline. The lighter wasn't just evidence of his presence in that room. It was the receipt for his empire. When the investigator walked into that glass office, the lighter wasn't just a piece of gold. It was a lighthouse that had guided the truth back home. The arrest of the industry titan sent shockwaves through the city. But for the investigator, the true victory wasn't in the headlines. It was in the basement of the Justice Department, where a 52-year-old file was finally stamped with a single word in red ink: exonerated. The thief on the run was no longer a ghost of shame. Forensic accountants, following the trail opened by the gold lighter and the Silent Nest Inn records, discovered the stolen $2 million hadn't vanished. They had been laundered through a series of offshore accounts that built the very skyscraper the killer called home. Every brick of that empire was bought with the blood of a man who only wanted to go home for Christmas. On a cold, clear morning, a small ceremony took place far from the cameras. The wedding band, cleaned of its grave wax, was returned to the victim's surviving daughter, a woman who had spent her life hiding a name she was told to be ashamed of. When she held the ring, the weight of a half-century of lies finally lifted. The investigator returned one last time to Pier 42. The fog was gone, replaced by a biting, honest wind. Looking down into the dark water where the black Cadillac had rested for 5 decades, the investigator realized that time doesn't heal all wounds. It only waits for the truth to find its voice. The case was closed, the silence was broken, and for the first time since 1974, the city felt quiet. The truth remained submerged for 52 years, but it never died. It was simply waiting for someone brave enough to look into the eyes of the waxman. Now, I want to ask you, if you were standing in the investigator's shoes that night at Pier 42, and you found that brass key in a dead man's grip, would you have stopped at the autopsy report? Or would you have chased the shadows all the way to the top of that glass skyscraper? Justice may be delayed, but in our files, no crime is ever truly forgotten. This case is just the beginning. In our dark archives, there are other closed files waiting for their seals to be broken. Cases where evidence vanished and victims never found a voice. Until now. If you have a passion for diving into the details of the crime and dismantling mysteries that time couldn't solve, then you belong here with us. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because the next case has just been pulled from the depths, and it's more haunting than you can imagine. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next investigation.